Well, it's just me and you, Craig, and I was driving back from the in-laws, so I haven't got another drink. So what are you drinking tonight?
So I am drinking Hopped and Confused, Volume 3.
And is this in any way a reflection on your week of BMXing, where I think you were hopped and confused and fell off on a corner?
I did fall off on a corner. I asked a little too much of my front tire than it was able to give me.
And this is not a problem we face in the Zwift world, though, is it? I mean, I expect probably Gavin Irons has managed to crash off his bike in Zwift, but most of the rest of us haven't.
Actually, I believe it was Junius Ho that managed to crash in our TTT for Zone 14 last night. So
Brilliant work. I've not heard of that one before. I think Brian managed to pedal his bike backwards in the pen and undo one of his pedals, but I've not heard of someone crashing it. That's certainly an achievement unlocked there. So well done. What have we got coming up this week? I know what it is. It's as we were saying beforehand. It's Bailey at its best. It's completely bonkers.
it is, and I don't, I don't want to, speak ill of him while he's not here to defend himself. But James is evil. I'm a huge fan of this. This is going to hurt an incredible amount, and it's going to be fun. So yeah, it is one lap of Innsbruck Ring, so it's one ride up, one lap, one time up the leg snapper, and then a sprint to the finish. There's no points on the sprint. It's all on finish time.
Oh, blimey. I hadn't realised there's no points on the sprint as well. So, and this isn't even an FTP test, is it? Because it's too short a lap. I think, I'm trying to think, I've certainly done it sub 20 minutes when I was racing sort of at high C's, low B's. I think the B's will be doing it sub 20 minutes. I'm not sure what time the D's will do. I can see you're looking on the screen now.
Yep. So the D's did it in 14 and a half, or the winning D was 14 and a half earlier, and the top three looked like they were pretty much together. The C's were, wow, yeah, the top C's were just over 13 minutes. The top D's were just over 12. And actually the top A's were about the same speed as the B's in just over 12.
Yeah, so I mean, what we're expecting the tactics to be here, I mean, it's basically going to be hurt. There is no rest. Maybe on the descent of the leg snapper, you briefly get some respite, but other than that, it's just going to be. I mean, there is no prime to hammer the 9. I think on this one.
So on the descent of the leg snapper, if you're at the front and aren't trying to drop the people that are behind you, which you should be, no, you can't rest on the descent. It's only if you are happy with the group you are in and not trying to lose the people behind you and not trying to catch the people in front of you. I don't think there's a rest. So the start's going to be hard. The trip through town is going to, before the leg snapper, is going to be hard as the big Watts TT type guys try to drop the climbers. Then the leg snapper is going to be insane as everybody tries to drop everybody else or try not to get dropped. I say then the way down and the rest of the way around is going to be hard as people try to keep the gaps that they earned on the leg snapper or close them, and then you're at the sprint and some idiot's going to go early. Steve.
Yeah, as some idiot. This course is, I mean, I remember this from ZRL and various other iterations before. It's such a tough course to start on. So it's about 5 minutes to the leg snapper. So you're basically doing your 5-minute power and then immediately trying to do your best 1-minute power on this course. It's just crazy. And in between that, I think the bit that people often forget is about 2K in, there's a sort of, you turn right and go over a bridge, I think it is. And it's just enough of a gradient that you start to feel, even with kind of training difficulties, we know that reduces the gradient. It's just enough that you have to bump those watts up slightly. And that starts to hurt. And then you get to the leg snapper, and it's around a minute of just hurting as much as you can. The top never comes quickly enough on this one. It's crazy. you usually when you go over the top of the leg snapper, you've been dropped, or you're desperately trying to cling on to a group, so you're trying to hammer up to the group that you've been dropped by and cling on in that draft. The descent itself isn't straightforward. There is a little incline on that, so you've got to, everyone will be sprinting when they hit that incline, and then you're pretty much into the last K, and that's obviously where I will attack tomorrow. At 1K to go, and go down in a blaze of glory. So what are we thinking bike choice on this one? Obviously pink Tron, or the orange Tron if you're Dutch, but if you're not lucky enough to have the Tron yet, what are we thinking? Personally, I'm going fastest flat bike.
I think you could go fastest flat bike. So it's all on. So much of this is, if you're confident that your 1 minute power is good enough to stay with the front group up the leg snapper, then you want fastest flat bike for the sprint finish. If not, then you want your best all round. You want a good all rounder. Not so. I mean, a climbing bike would be ridiculous because you'll be working extra hard before the leg snapper. But yeah, you'd want to, if you're not confident in your ability to get to the top, or that you think you'll need a little bit extra, that might make the difference between being on somebody's wheel and being 5 meters back.
Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it? For me, I'm looking at the simple maths, or math as you folk would say, of the percentage of what's climbing. So we've only really got a few hundred meters of road that's uphill on this, of a 9K race, which is the leg snapper. You've got a minute out of about 13, 14 minutes of a race, which is a climb. Like I say, it is going to be, if my slightly better climbing bike allows me to be 5 meters further up the road, because that's really, like, I think the climbing best climbing bike to best flat bike, we're probably talking a couple of seconds difference, and I think you're more than making that back. Yeah. You're more than making that back on the flat run. So
yeah, you're not talking a couple of seconds. You're talking, the only way it's worth it is if it makes the difference between you being in the draft and being out of the draft at the top.
So yeah, there we go. I mean, if you haven't got the pink Tron, I mean, I'm obviously going pink Tron because I'm lazy and don't like changing my bike more than anything else. I think Tron is a really good. I mean, the Tron's pretty awesome on the flat, and it's a decent climber. So it's probably the best all-round bike you can have for this course. I know we talk a lot about the Venge and disc wheels. I don't have that, so I would be looking at kind of what my best flat bike is. When I was low level, I loved the Ribble, 3 stars on both, and I put the wheels on, which are the slightly sort of better climbing all-round wheels, all kind of level 7, 9 stuff. So yeah, it's just choosing. I think you've just got to go best aero on this, and I think the Canyon Aero is still pretty awesome, isn't it? And that's a fairly low level bike as well. Well, if you've not got your Tron yet.
Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet, and you do want, I would say you want your best aero wheels. You don't need to go to climby.
Cool. So it's going to be glorious. It's going to be done in 13 to 15 minutes. James Bailey, you mad evil genius. I'm going to both hate this and love this, but it's probably the most I've looked at a race and thought, this is flipping awesome for a while. So congrats, James, for doing something new. I'm not going to make the usual joke because I know you have time zones and things like that, so you're just used to days being in the wrong order. What is happening in the Herd Racing League the rest of this week, Craig?
So as I attempt to fill in for James, so after the madness of one lap of Innsbruck Ring Sprint, Herd of Mountain Goats takes off with the an ascent of Ventop. So that is a long time of going uphill, and my hat's off to those of you that want to do that. Then Cass Pat for the Stampede. So that's an interesting TT route for sure.
Remind me, Cass Pat, that's the one where you go over the Petit Com, isn't it?
That's the one where you go over the Petit Com twice, I think. Do you go up at the start and finish at the top for Cass Pats, I think? So it's not actually Petit Com, it's backwards. So I think you go from the start pens, you start up Ventop, but turn at Petit Com and go down. loop around, and then go up again to finish.
According to Zwift Insider, it is what I'd call the forward route. So you're out of the marina. Oh no, it's a weird backward one, isn't it? So you go out of the marina, round to the aqueduct, over Pitticom, down, and then back to the marina. Is Caspat.
I'm completely wrong then. I
Yeah.
apologize.
So, but it's got the main thing is it's a TT with a climb in it. That was the purpose of that question, Craig. Which I think that's cool. It makes TTs more interesting, doesn't it? Because there is no advantage in most TT, even this sort of TT. There's no advantage in being on anything but a TT bike. But suddenly in this one, you can play tactics a bit. So there will be time to be gained on that climb. It's a 6 to 8 minute climb, isn't it? If you conserve a little bit and then really hammer that, you could make up quite a bit of time on other people who are taking a more even strategy, so we say. So I think it's another cool route for the TT.
Absolutely, and it's very much. And I think Shane or GP Llama has said quite nicely. Go the hardest when you're going the slowest. So.
Exactly. So yeah, sorry, I've interrupted you. We've got as far as Monday. What's up next? Tuesday with the Sheeries.
So Tuesday with the Sheeries, we have the Tour of Truett Well. So
another cool route.
That is a cool route, and it's actually one I've never raced, and I obviously will not be able to do the Sheeries, but I will be planning on doing a broadcast of it. So in my early morning. But so that one is so it's the Yorkshire World, and it's all the climby bits without the sprinty bit.
Yes, and it does the infamous pot bank wall as well, which is an absolute brute. There's no other way of saying that. It hits some very red percentages very quickly. You just got to suffer, and that's going to be. But it's short enough that kind of some of the more powerful riders will just about be able to hang on. So it's for me, it's a real kind of interesting point in that broadcast, because your lighter climbers, that's the point you've got to basically drop the sprinter or the kind of good all-rounder punchy riders from your group. Otherwise, they're probably beating you in the sprint at the end. But it's it's an absolute brute, that. Cool route. Looking forward to that broadcast. So that takes us to the Bullseye on Wednesday.
And on Wednesday, Bullseye is the other half of the Harrogate UCI circuit, Duchy Estate, 8 laps. So that I've done that course, and I've done it for both Bullseye, and we did that for HSRL in Series 3 as well. And I love that circuit for points races. It is an absolute hoot.
And people are going to start thinking we're basically only nice to James's back, but another good route this week, I think. Like you said, it's a really cool one. I think partly we both quite enjoy the punchy ride, so something with a bit of climbing, bit of sprinting. So it is definitely playing to our biases this week. But this is a particularly cool route. It's short, but for me it's the short climb, or what Zwift Insider calls the end of the lap. But so from about 2Ks in, you climb up towards the sprint. And I remember in the Seas being locked in a battle with Orjan over this, that I would basically hammer it as much as I could up that climb to be far enough ahead of him that he couldn't catch me when he sprinted in the sprint. And because with Bullseye's position and not time, that was a really cool. And so I say it's a great Bullseye route, because suddenly the climbers can attack to try and get the position. The sprinters can kind of pace themselves, knowing that they can sprint back on the flat a bit, and you can have some cool racing there. So another cool route, and definitely hope to be doing that one this week.
So before you say that we're being nice to James, I have to say I kind of glossed over it, but Ventop is evil. But I mean, honestly, I feel the entire Herd of Mountain Goat series is evil. So that's...
Yeah, Ventop isn't so much evil as just dull. I think actually kind of, so it's half an hour longer for your kind of top Cs. So I think I did it in 90 minutes, plus the little bit before the con. So it's a bit over 90 minutes, averaging about 3.4 all the way up. So And that's about what I've averaged doing the Alp as well, and I've done that just under an hour. So it's half an hour more, but it's just so dull because it's a straight road most of the way, isn't it? It's quite nice at the top, and you see the famous tower at the top. But I get why Zwift put it in the game, but I think there are climbs that are more interesting that have basically got corners in them that would have been more fun to ride on. But there we go. It's a famous alpine climb.
So I guess I'd say we've had really good races on it. So, thinking back to, I think it was HSRL 3 when when it was the finale of the series. That was a lot of fun because we were all on Discord yelling at each other and watching each other go forward and back and passing people in different categories, and it was fun with a lot of people on the road and a lot of message and Discord traffic, and it being the culmination of the series. Just for a single race, yeah, I'm gonna get dropped by the people in my category that are good at climbing.
And this is a chat we've had before, and I think it's a challenge James faces is how to keep the rides interesting as the rider numbers drop off a bit. We heard from the chap at WTRL last week who was saying that kind of northern hemisphere summer tends to be a drop off in Zwift activity as people go outside. I've said to you in the past, and I can't remember if I said on the show, kind of where Zwift falls down, especially in racing, is something like this where you get dropped early and you see nobody. What I love, James Bailey for me is mad brilliant best, is when he does something that's really short and has many laps, because then you kind of like artificially create that I'm always in a group. It doesn't matter how bad I'm doing. Someone's going to lap me. I might lap somebody. There's always a little bunch going on. There's always little battles. There's always that kind of feeling of being in a race with somebody. Whereas Von Top can very rapidly become like, I'm just going to sit on my trainer and I might as well put Netflix on and suffer watching a film for an hour and a half because there's no point in me watching the screen. But yeah, so then that brings us, anyway, we've gone backwards in time there. We have moved the days of the week around, which is always the objective of this segment. And that would then bring us back to Hertzma Racing League on the Friday. So yeah, cool week, other than Von Top, which we've agreed is just long and a straight road. So speaking of cool things, Craig, we've kind of been in the segment I've artificially added in the last few weeks of things we've seen surfing the Facebook page. You wanted to bring up something today.
Yeah, so, and I guess I've noticed a lot of people heading out and meeting up with people they've met through the herd in real life and going for a ride. So I'm going out with a bunch of the Ottawa herd here tomorrow morning, so that should be fun. And yeah, because I've seen James has gone out with a couple different groups, and Dorothy's on some sort of insane herd across America tour.
Just bonkers, but yeah, massive kudos to Dorothy for that. But that is insane.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, lots of people are doing similar such things, and yeah, it's terrific.
I do genuinely love this. I think for me, herd was a very lockdown-based experience at the beginning. I got into Zwift in the April where we'd been in lockdown about 4 weeks because that's how long it took for my trainers to arrive. Pretty immediately got into the herd and got into the races there. And we'd like to think I've now got a group of friends from around the globe actually through doing those races. But actually that have kind of transcended just being in this same group to play a video game together. So, and I love to see it actually. I love that kind of, we've said before, the herd seems to be a kind of nice protected corner of the internet where humans are still nice humans. And actually, it seems like that's still the case when we meet in real life as well, which is always reassuring. So I will reassure people that I'm just as much of an arsehole in real life as I am behind a keyboard. So nothing will change. Cool. So what things that have annoyed us about the world of Zwift? I don't really have anything about Zwift, but I have a kind of official apology to make, and I can see it on the top of your list on the whiteboard as well. BMX is really cool.
It
I've been
is.
watching the BMX, so not live, but I've been watching the highlights of the BMX races at the Olympics, and my God, what a cool event! I love how fast it is. I love the kind of battles in the races, the competitiveness. I also really enjoy the kind of heat stages. So it's kind of a number of races all happening really quickly. I love that the Dutch guy who somebody decided to walk into, and was it a practice run or one of the early heats? But the Dutch guy that somebody decided to walk into won the gold medal, and his game wasn't ruined by an idiot walking into the road. So yeah, BMX is cool and really, really fast and a fun event to watch.
So I'm going to throw our virtual wrench at that guy that stepped in front of Nick Keeman, who eventually won the gold medal with a broken kneecap from that collision.
Oh,
So just for I've heard some rumors from people I chat with in BMX circles that the guy that stepped onto the track was a from one of the country's UCI delegations. He was their safety officer and had just finished giving, not 30 minutes before, a big blustery speech about how no one goes onto the track when riders are on it. So yeah, dude, that was horrible.
and that's just the fact that supposedly wasn't he one of the safety representatives as well? It's just like, oh man, but there we go. I think it's probably the daftest thing I've seen, and I'm into my Formula One since the chap at the Canadian Grand Prix randomly just walked in front of Sebastian Vettel. So yeah, cool event. What else is on the whiteboard, Craig?
So I guess I had the sprinty races. We've talked about the Innsbruck Ring, and yeah, that's awesome. But so my own personal BMX, in addition to really enjoying the Olympic races, so I had my last night first race at the intermediate level after getting promoted up from novice, and I was quite happy with my performance. I also raced my cruiser against the 17 to 20-year-old the 17 to 20-year-old experts and inters, and anyway, so I had a lot of fun and watched them go off in front of me.
And I did a really cool time trial in real life on Thursday on what's the more rolling course of the two that we do our local time runs on. And actually, rolling time trials are really fun in real life as well. It's they're not massive hills, but enough to shake it up. It's not a flat out and back, so it really made a difference. But it's interesting what you say about the sprinter races. I know we've been very nice to James, apart from about one top, and I think this is kind of a comment, criticism, feedback that we've laid at his door before, is that are the races the wrong way around in a way? So now that we are going outside more, would we get more participation if we did more short races now versus the longer races in the winter? I know there is a reason James does it this way around. So it is something that's thought through, but it does sort of strike me as it may be a way to get more participation in the summer, but I don't know. Craig is shrugging at the camera. And what's the final bullet point you've got, Craig?
So my final bullet point is actually a bit of a kudos to Zwift for all that we give them stick all the time. So they rolled back the changes they made to the rider AI, or the group dynamics. So I guess I didn't see a huge difference myself, or I at least found I was able to control it a little bit, but I've spent a lot of time practicing trying to position myself. A lot of people found that the change was big and negative. Zwift listened and rolled it back, and I gotta say that's something that you don't see all the time with companies when they roll out an improvement. Like, no, this is an improvement, live with it. So I will give them credit for that good job on, one, leaving themselves a way to do it, and two, making the call to do it.
Yeah, and I think I can't I know we've both worked in kind of software and things like that, and I think you can't emphasize enough that A, left themselves a way to do it, but B, actually a bit of cutting Zwift a bit of slack, that it's pretty impossible to kind of beta test every bit of functionality in this with the massive group dynamics in all of the worlds in a way that probably keeps us happy as customers, that they're rolling out these updates quickly enough. So we're probably going to have to accept, and probably should accept, that there's an element of things will be deployed in a beta mode and they may not work. And I think kudos to Zwift going, we've deployed this, it hasn't quite worked out, we're reverting to back where it was. I still have the question for Zwift of like, what is so broken about the sandbagging, the anti-sandbagging, that means that you can't deploy it into the game? Because having done some of those crit city races, it seems to work, but it may be that it's on longer segments or something like that, it's broken.
So I guess I've definitely talked to a lot of people, and I think for very light riders and very powerful riders, there are still issues with it. So to me, I don't think, and I'm also not sure that it's really the way to go. It's because if you're going to define your category by FTP, why are you disqualifying somebody on one power? Maybe defining your category for a crit city race on FTP isn't the best way to do it, but that's I think I understand why they're not rolling it out completely. I don't think it's the final solution, and I'm not sure it's even better than what we've got right now.
Yeah. And it was interesting last week to hear just how few people are actually racing as well within Zwift. So it's not a thing that's massively important to them. As we say, I think it's a bit of a blunt tool. It's a kludgy fix to a system that's a bit weird anyway. And it looks like the auto-catting system is probably a more elegant fix to the problem, in my opinion. I think ultimately we've seen the article on Zwift Insider. There's people who sort of advocate using the USADA type ranking systems, so people move up as they accrue points into harder races. So that's probably the most elegant solution. So I don't know if that the AutoCat system means that they're working to something a bit more like that, but we shall see, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to completely argue with the numbers Martin threw out last week, but I will say that those are Zwift's numbers. So Martin's quite right in the number of people that are actively racing. However, that the big number that Zwift always throws out is the number of people that have created an account. I will say, for various purposes, I personally have created 7 accounts, and all 7 of those accounts count. So that's one where they're not giving the number of people that are actually active on Zwift. They're not even giving the number of people that have actually cycled on Zwift, because most of those accounts have only been for camera use. They're giving the number of registrations, and I understand that, for business intelligence reasons, they don't want to give out the number of current paid subscribers, but I'm pretty sure that number is much lower than the number of accounts that have been created that they like to give out.
And I wonder how much they actually, and I'm sure I've said this before, they actually work to the gym club model in that. So when I worked in a gym, we didn't make money from the people that were active members because they were using our equipment. We had to heat the building, and kind of they came in and we had to clean up after them. We made our money by the people that signed up in January, that committed to a year, that paid us the year, maybe came 4 or 5 times in January, and then we never saw them again because we didn't have to spend anything more on them. So one wonders with Zwift whether they've got the same mentality of like, it's for them, it's about getting that registration, getting that person to join, and not the repeat business in the same way, which seems a bit like a pyramid scheme to me, but there we go. So cool. Well, I think that's everything on the whiteboard. My dog is not jumping on me anymore, which is progress. Have we got anything nasty to say about Becca Kingdom or Shawn McAfee, as we've been really nice to James, apart from the bits where we weren't?
So the only thing I've got to say is that yeah, they didn't tell us they weren't coming.
Yeah, we're
Like,
sad. We missed them both, and also boo Becca for being a dirty surfer, and boo Shawn for being from dirt. So there we go.
to
Have a
be
good
fair,
night,
Becca
Craig.
did say she probably wasn't coming, but
Have a good night, Craig.
good night.